Welcome to the coldest game ever played. In 1959 at Vostok Station, Antarctica, two men sat down for a simple chess match. What started as boredom turned into one of the most disturbing true crimes in Antarctic history. A single ice axe, a chessboard covered in frozen blood, and a hunger that refused to end. This is the Chessboard Killer. A real story of isolation, madness, and the moment when losing the game meant losing everything. Turn off your lights, get comfortable, and listen carefully. Because in Antarctica, the cold does not forget who lost. I was a glaciologist back in the early 80s. I worked with a small team on the Rana ice shelf in Antarctica. There were 3 of us. Elias was a geologist from Finland, quiet guy, never really smiled. And then there was Dr. Aris Thorne, our team leader. Aris had survived a winter at Vostok Station, which is about as brutal as it gets. He used to say that the cold doesn't kill you. It just shows you how thin your sanity really is. We were set up in these half-buried huts called Jamesways. It was October, which down there is spring, but a storm rolled in that wasn't like anything I'd ever seen. It was a katabatic wind, air that literally falls off the polar plateau, picks up speed, and turns into a horizontal blizzard of ice crystals. The wind doesn't howl, it screams. It's a constant low-frequency sound that vibrates in your chest. We got buried for 6 days. Radio died. Door froze shut. We were trapped in that hut, breathing each other's air, watching frost build up on the inside of the walls. On day 4, Aris decided he had to dig out the emergency transmitter from the supply hut. It was only about 50 feet away, but in a whiteout, 50 feet might as well be 50 miles. He tied a rope to his harness and went out. We watched him disappear into the white. The rope went slack after about 10 minutes. We pulled it in. It was cut. Clean cut, like someone had used a knife. Elias and I waited. That's what you do. You don't go out in a whiteout. We waited 40 hours. When the wind finally stopped, we dug ourselves out. The supply hut door was wide open, crusted with frost. Inside, we found Aris sitting in the corner. His parka was unzipped. His face was wrong. It wasn't frostbite. His skin was a deep, blotchy purple, and his lips were pulled back from his teeth like he was grinning. His eyes were open. They weren't frozen. They were wet. And there was something moving in them. Little thread-like things, squirming under the surface. But that wasn't the worst part. His mittens were off. His fingers were gone. He had arranged them on the floor in front of him, in a perfect circle. And in the center of the circle, he'd used his own blood to draw a symbol. A spiral, turning inward, with a dot in the middle. Elias started gagging. I just stood there. I felt cold in a way that had nothing to do with the temperature. We couldn't lift him. He was frozen to the floor. We had to chip him out with an ice axe. When we moved him, his parka fell open more, and we saw he'd carved that same spiral into his chest. Shallow cuts, but deliberate. He'd used a piece of glass from his watch. We wrapped him in a tarp and buried him in a crevasse. Neither of us said a word. It felt like something was listening. A rescue team came a few days later. The lead medic pulled me aside and asked about what happened. I told him everything. He went pale. Then he told me something I hadn't known. Years earlier, Aris had been part of a deep-core drilling project near the pole of inaccessibility. They drilled down over 2 miles into a subglacial lake. At the bottom of the core, the ice wasn't clear. It was black, and inside that black ice, there were bubbles. But they weren't filled with air. They were filled with something biological. Something alive, frozen for hundreds of thousands of years. The project was shut down. The samples were supposed to be destroyed, but the medic said Aris had kept a piece. A tiny sliver, sealed in a vial. After the medic left, I went through Aris's belongings. In his duffel bag, wrapped in a sock, I found the vial. It was empty. The ethanol inside was gone. There was a gray film coating the inside of the glass, and in that film, someone or something had traced the same spiral, the same one he'd drawn in his own blood. I left it there. I left everything. I walked out to the plane and I never went back. Sometimes late at night I think about that hut. I think about the snow drifting over it, burying it deeper, and I wonder if the ice is holding him, or if it's holding something else. something that's waiting for the next person to come along and drill just a little too deep. The chessboard still sits in that frozen room. The axe is still waiting for the next long winter. Every new crew that arrives at Vostok plays the same deadly game. If this story left you chilled, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Comment below, would you rather freeze or join the game? Share this with someone who thinks they can survive the Antarctic night. But remember, the hunger always makes the next move. Thank you for listening to the Chessboard Killer. Sleep well. If the cold lets you. Deep beneath 2 miles of Antarctic ice lies a lake that has been sealed for millions of years. In 2012, scientists finally broke through. What came up with the water was not just ancient microbes. It was something that remembers every starving soul that ever died in the cold. This is Whispers from Lake Vostok, a true story of drilling into the unknown, hunger, isolation, and the voices that tell you to eat. Sit close, turn down the lights, and prepare yourself. Because once the lake starts whispering, it never stops until you obey. It is 2012 at Vostok Station. The Russians have drilled for years through 2 miles of ice. They finally break into Lake Vostok, a lake sealed for millions of years. The water shoots up the drill hole and freezes instantly. The scientists cheer, but something comes up with the water. Something that should have stayed asleep. The crew of 8 starts hearing whispers at night. Soft voices from the vents, they say, eat. The voices sound like old friends who died on earlier expeditions. The doctor named Maria writes in her log, "The lake is talking to us. It remembers hunger from long ago." Food supplies drop fast because the drill uses everything. The winter is the longest ever. They find strange microbes in the new ice core, but also tiny bone pieces, human bones with teeth marks. The whispers grow louder. Eat, or we will eat you. Maria starts sleepwalking. She wakes up with blood on her hands. She has bitten her own wrist. Deep red marks. She tells the camera, "The lake showed me what happened to Mawson in 1911. His friend died, and he ate the flesh to live. The lake wants me to do the same." One by one, the crew breaks Sergei. The drill operator cuts a piece from a dead teammate after a fall. He cooks it and shares it. The others eat, because the hunger is stronger than shame. They feel relief, then shame, then hunger again. Maria sees her dead husband in the ice, begging her to take one bite. The power fails. The lights go red. The whispers turn into screams from the lake below. They say more. The last 3 crew members turn on each other. Knives flash, quick blood on white walls. One man crawls into the drill hole screaming, "The lake is calling my name." He never comes back. Maria is the only one left. She records while chewing a small piece of her own leg. She says the lake is not water. It is hunger. It has been waiting millions of years. Do not drill again. The microbes are not alive. They are the memory of every starving soul. The footage suddenly shows the drill breaking through again and again. The same crew dying, the same eating. The station speaker now speaks with Maria's voice. "New drill team arrives soon. Bring more flesh." Black screen, slow heartbeat text appears, one word at a time. The lake is still whispering. "Open the ice, eat or be eaten." The drill hole was sealed, but the whispers never were. Lake Vostok is still down there waiting for the next team, waiting for the next long winter when food runs out. If this tale disturbed you, smash that like button, subscribe for more real frozen horrors, and hit the bell. Tell me in the comments, would you listen to the whispers or let yourself starve? Share this video so others know what really sleeps under the ice. Thank you for descending into Whispers from Lake Vostok. Sweet dreams, and whatever you do, do not open the ice.